Hello and welcome to my easy to understand guide to Luther, the TV crime drama, and in particular industry. This video is going to be particularly relevant for you if you are studying GCSE Media Studies on the Eduqas exam board, as it is currently one of the set crime dramas you need to have studied. The show is an international co-production between BBC Studios in Britain and BBC America, which is a kind of worldwide organisation, but primarily based in the US. Now, you need to know some background information about that company. The BBC is a public service broadcaster. That means it is funded by public licence fees in the UK and not by advertising. That means that it has what's called a public service remit. A remit means the kind of rules or obligations that they have to follow as part of their funding licence. The BBC has an official remit, which is to inform, educate and entertain. And you can see that Luther is quite entertaining. It's got lots of drama, lots of conflict, lots of excitement within the narrative. It could be seen as informative and educational as well. Perhaps some audiences are learning from Luther about things like the criminal justice system in Britain. One of the other remits of the BBC as part of their public service broadcasting licence is that they have to produce quality programming, and Luther has been seen as one of BBC's most popular, most high quality shows. It has quite a high budget and it's been very successful in both Britain and countries around the world. Part of the BBC's remit is that they also have to celebrate and nurture UK talent as well as reflect UK diversity. And you can see this within the show. Lots of British actors, some of whom were really unknown when they first started in Luther. Quite a diverse cast as well. Got Idris Elba in a lead role, and sort of having a black male protagonist, still quite unusual within shows on the BBC and on other channels, particularly perhaps within crime drama shows. They often tend to have white male characters as the lead protagonists. Now, whilst the BBC in the UK is licence fee funded and a public service broadcaster, don't forget it is also a co-production with BBC America. BBC America is actually a commercial channel. It's a cable network based primarily in America and is funded by advertising. And that means that a lot of BBC America productions can have higher budgets. They don't have to rely simply on public funding because they can charge money through advertising. So having BBC America involved as part of a co-production means that Luther can have a higher budget than a lot of other BBC shows. This meant they were able to do things like filming in Waterloo train station, shutting down hospitals and hotels. That gave them the ability to film in locations that were particularly recognisable. It also meant they were able to secure the rights to quite a lot of mainstream pop and rock music, and that soundtrack became particularly popular. The BBC actually worked with an independent record label, Silver Screen Recordings, to produce the soundtrack for 3 different seasons of Luther. And again, that was a great way, selling of that merchandise was a great way of raising extra profit. Writer Neil Cross had already had some success already with some TV dramas on the BBC like Spooks. Spooks was very popular, again, a kind of crime drama, lots of very dramatic scenes, quite dark as well. And so perhaps having him involved might have brought in a pre-sold audience of fans of his previous work. He was also highly influenced by other BBC shows like Sherlock. He's admitted that what he wanted to do was create a sort of Sherlock for the more modern, diverse age. Idris Elba has quite a big star appeal. He's seen as kind of a bit of a sex object now, quite an iconic male actor, and he's become more and more famous as the series have gone on. And this will have been able to target and bring in fans of him, fans of having, perhaps audiences who particularly would have enjoyed having a black male protagonist, may have been able to identify with him or looked up to him as a role model. Might have brought in female audiences who will have seen him as a sex object. As the series went on, they had less and less episodes per series, and this is perhaps reflective of Idris Elba's ever-growing fame throughout that, series of seasons. It meant that perhaps he became more expensive to contract to play Luther, but it also meant that he was in demand to play lots of other roles. So he was also in things like The Fast and the Furious. He was in the Marvel universe as well, films. And so because he was playing other roles and quite in demand, perhaps reflective of the fact that, that's why they had to reduce the number of episodes per season later on of Luther. The producers also worked with a publishing company called Simon & Schuster in the US to release a range of Luther novels, which acted as further merchandise to promote the TV series. When the BBC decided to release Luther on DVD, they would have had to have submitted it to the BBFC. They certified Luther as a 15 when it came out on DVD, probably due to the kind of violence, some of the dark scenes of murder and fighting, and some of the references to things like drugs, nudity and sex within the show. Because of this, it had to be on post-Watershed, so after 9 p.m. on the BBC, and that was to make sure that it wasn't seen by a younger, more vulnerable audience. However, you do need to look at the fact that the show is available on streaming sites, including things like BBC iPlayer, and that means that regulation has become particularly hard. There isn't very much stopping anyone under the age of 15 or 17 in America getting hold of the show online. DVD sales have actually fallen quite a lot over the years. A lot of people just aren't buying them anymore because they're more used to getting digital copies of the products that they like. The BBC have reflected that with their use of technological convergence with their sites like BBC iPlayer. Use of streaming sites help to target perhaps a new, slightly younger target audience who are using streaming sites, and helps to widen your target audience too. You'll remember that when you're using sites like Netflix or Prime, if you watch a show and afterwards it will say things like, because you watched this, you may enjoy this. So it's quite a good way of people getting recommendations to watch Luther if they watch other similar shows. So that has helped to broaden the target audience even further. The BBC is a vertically integrated, powerful company, so they are able to do their own distribution via things like BBC iPlayer. They also have BBC Studios, which is their distribution company in-house, to be able to do things like DVDs and Blu-rays. Being vertically integrated means they don't have to outsource this process to another company, and that helps to save them money and it makes them more powerful in the long run. The TV series has been incredibly popular. So it's been eventually distributed to over 200 countries worldwide. So incredibly successful. It's won loads of awards. Between 2014 and 2017, they were talking about doing a US remake. Those plans were eventually dropped, but there is a Russian version that was released in 2016. There is also a Korean version in 2018, and at the moment there's a French and an Indian version in development too. This idea of companies minimizing risk by creating remakes almost of an existing successful product. They're not going for anything totally new. They're taking a really successful existing format and remaking it for different audiences because they know it's already been a hit in one country. Hopefully it will make it a guaranteed success in other countries. For many years now, they've been talking about making a film version of Luther, and Idris Elba has been interviewed several times, even up until this year, talking about how there is still talks about making a film version. So this idea of companies trying to get as much profit as possible out of one idea. If they make a film version, they'll have a pre-sold audience from the TV series, and hopefully that will maximise their profits for a film. Because the BBC is vertically integrated, they have their own in-house marketing team, and this marketing team employed a range of strategies to promote the series. In order to promote the show, the BBC actually broadcast all the episodes of the Wire TV series in the lead up to the release of Luther. Idris Elba was in The Wire as well, so showing an episode every single night of The Wire in the lead up to the release of Luther helped to familiarise BBC audiences with Idris Elba as a person and his acting, and that would have been a really great way of taking those audiences and hopefully trying to lead them from The Wire into Luther. They used social media a lot, and that is obviously because they want to target a reasonably modern, youthful audience from the age of around 18 up to around 45. On social media, they promoted a range of behind the scenes content, interviews with the cast and crew, teasers for new episodes. Social media is obviously a great way as well of targeting a global audience. Don't forget, this show was available online around the world, over 200 countries. So promoting the show and mentioning and tagging BBC America was a great way of engaging those global audiences. The BBC has its own website and Luther has its own official pages within that website. And that allowed audiences to find out more information about the show, the plot and the narrative, the characters as well. And it offered a range again of extra content such as behind the scenes interviews and quizzes, competitions, etc. The BBC also used the website to promote their graphic novels around the show. So there are several graphic novels based on the series 2 and 3, which you can view online. And this potentially targets a more youthful demographic. The website at one point offered a range of interactive options for audiences, including the option to send in postcards to the show, which would then later be featured within an episode of Luther, where one of the antagonists, Alice, was sending postcards to Luther. And that would have been quite appealing to audiences who wanted to see something that they had submitted on the screen. For a later series of Luther, they also employed a creative agency who created an interactive trailer for audiences. So there were hotspots within the trailer that was online, so audiences could click on them to get more information. So that was my easy to understand guide to Luther and audience. Please don't forget to check out my channel for other videos about Luther and indeed the other set texts for GCSE Eduqas Media Studies. If there is a particular video you want that I don't yet already have, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do.